They didn't get participation trophies. They didn't get helicopter parents. They didn't get therapy after a rough day. What they got was a key, a small, cold house key hanging around their neck, with one unspoken message attached to it. Figure it out yourself. This is Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980. And if you think you understand them, you probably don't. Picture this. It's 1978. You're 8 years old. The school bell rings. Other kids get picked up by their parents. You start walking home, alone. You unlock the front door yourself. Drop your backpack. Make yourself a snack. And sit in the silence. No text from mom. No dad working from home. Just you. 4 walls. And hours of emptiness stretching ahead. By 1984, roughly 7 million children between 5 and 13 were living this exact reality. Every single day. They were called latchkey kids. But nobody talked about what that silence was doing to them. It was building something unbreakable inside them. When you're 8 and responsible for yourself, you don't get the luxury of falling apart. You learn fast. You adapt. You develop a quiet confidence. Not from praise, from survival. And that changes everything about who you become. But the self-reliance didn't stop there. Gen X watched the adults around them destroy every institution they were told to trust. Their parents preached family values, while divorce rates exploded through the 70s and 80s. Companies promised loyalty and lifetime jobs, then handed out pink slips without blinking. Political leaders they were supposed to admire turned out to be liars wearing patriotic suits. And through all of it, nobody said sorry. Nobody admitted they got it wrong. Gen X just watched, absorbed, and quietly made a decision that defined their entire generation. Never fully trust a system again. Psychologists call it defensive pessimism. Gen X calls it being awake. It's not bitterness. It's not cynicism for sport. It's the logical conclusion of watching the rug get pulled out again and again and again until your body just learns to expect it. Because when disappointment stops being a surprise, it stops having the power to destroy you. And then came the humor. Dark, dry, devastatingly self-aware. Because when you grow up in the Cold War shadow, when teachers walk you through nuclear drills like it's Tuesday, when adults smile and say everything is fine, while clearly preparing for catastrophe, you develop one very specific coping mechanism. You laugh. Not because things are funny, but because laughing is the only way to hold two impossible truths at once, without losing your mind completely. That irony became a shield. Keep people slightly at arm's length. Deflect before it hurts. Let the joke land before the emotion does. And people still mistake their emotional distance for having no emotions at all. That's one of the most heartbreaking misunderstandings about this entire generation. They feel everything. They've just learned to protect it. Now let's talk about work. Because this is where Gen X psychology becomes almost mythological. They never believed in corporate loyalty. They couldn't afford to. But they became fiercely loyal to one thing: their own skill. They couldn't control whether layoffs were coming. But they could control one thing: whether they were the most valuable person in the room. When those layoffs arrived, that's not ego. That's strategy, born from repeated economic trauma. The youngest Gen Zers graduated straight into the dot-com crash. The oldest ones were hitting their stride when 2008 swallowed everything whole, economically blindsided at every major milestone. So they adapted. Multiple income streams. Backup plans for the backup plans. Not because they're naturally entrepreneurial, but because they learned something at a bone-deep level. Nothing lasts forever. You'd better be ready. But here's the part that will genuinely move you. This generation. The one left alone as children. The one never held enough. The one that learned to need nothing from anyone. Turned around and became the most quietly devoted parents imaginable. The most loyal friends you'll ever have. The partners who show up without being asked. They gave their children everything they never received. The presents, the warmth, the school pickups, the conversations at dinner, the attention they were silently starving for themselves. They filled every silence they had lived through. with something better. And they didn't post about it. They didn't need applause for it. They just did it. The same way they did everything else. Without fanfare. Without complaint. Without asking for a single thing in return. Generation X is the bridge between two worlds. The old one that was crumbling, and the new one that hadn't yet arrived. And bridges don't get celebrated. They just hold everything together. Year after year. Quietly bearing the weight. They never expected recognition. They never needed it. And somehow, in that silence, in that strength, in that fierce and completely private love, they became the most quietly extraordinary generation of all. They just never told anyone. And that is the most Gen X thing of all.